Hey, it's your Wisconsin Wine Guy. Welcome back to part number 3 in the series of wines brought to you by Wine Insiders of WineInsiders.com, your Wisconsin Wine Guy, and we're doing a on-demand style type of tasting. So for those who are new, or maybe catching on to the third installment, remember there's 2 more before this one, total of 6 wines, and these wines are the Martha Stewart Holiday Selection wines. So these are wines curated by Martha Stewart saying that, hey, these are the wines you should be drinking this holiday season. So I do these on-demand type or style wine tastings that are right here on YouTube. All you have to do is purchase the wines. There'll be a link inside the description where you can purchase the wines and you can taste along with these wines. As long as Wine Insiders have these wines in stock, you can repeat this wine tasting over and over and over again. How cool is that? Now also, here's how it works. I go through the wine tasting process, and I have a point where I say this. Here are the words. Here's where you can pause the video and go through this step on your own or amongst your friends. Write down your notes, and when you come back, you'll hear what I had to say. So you get a chance to compare your notes with what I had to say with the wine when you come back. And if you didn't hear something clearly, you can always rewind it. You can always even stop and pick up on it the next day. How cool is that? On-demand tastings right here on YouTube, presented by Wisconsin Wine Guy. So now I can't forget the most important thing. At the end of every on-demand tasting, this is still a wine review. So I do a review of these wines, the infamous thumb reviews, and tell you what I think about the wines. You can compare your notes to my own. Again, for a refresher, double thumbs up, it happens rarely. Those wines are exceptional. Without pause, you should go and try that wine. Thumbs up, I recommend it. 3/4, if I was at a party and had this wine and I'm vibing with it, I would bring it home, share it with my friends. Halfway, not so much for me. But doesn't mean it doesn't work for me and my palate, and I'll tell you why. It may work for yours. Thumbs down, that's an easy one. But sometimes there's that in-between 3/4 and halfway. And I'll tell you why I labeled it that way, and I'll tell you why it made it between halfway and 3/4. So let's get to the show, shall we? All right. So we're still series number 3 again with Wine Insider Wines. We have 2 wines left here. Hope you enjoyed the previous 2 series. 2 videos in the series, and you had the wines and found wines that you like. What I like about Wine Insiders is that you can try wines from all over the world and different varietals, and it's just great. Different styles, different types, different colors. It's just great to be able to do that, with Wine Insiders and try many different wines. So I encourage you to give it a try. You can find wines that you like and you become committed to, oh my God, I like this wine, this winery. And again, there's so many wines, there's so many wineries in the world that you can't even find at your local shop. All right, so we do this. I do this for you and present it to you. You decide. You know what I say. Let your palate be the guide. All right, so let's get to the tasting. 2 wines. Number 3, we're going to do the Treehaven Lane 2018 Pinot Noir. Remember, these are Martha Stewart's holiday wine selections. Yes, I say it again for the 3rd time, that Martha Stewart. Okay, these are her selections for the holiday season. She's saying, during this holiday season, starting at Thanksgiving, you should be sipping on these wines. And I said, you know what? Why not do a wine tasting during this last month of the year and beyond with these wines, as long as Wine Insider have them in stock? So Tree Lane 2018 Pinot Noir from California, and then in celebration, maybe you want to skip straight to this one. You see the frost on the bottle? I just pulled this out the refrigerator. It is nicely chilled, so I gotta speak kind of fast, right? This is going to be George Phillips Cellars Sparkling Rosé Brut style, right? So let's get these wines open. But let's tell you, I got my supplies. Notice I have a wine glass and a sparkling wine glass. It's a celebration with this wine, so we're gonna do the sparkling wine glass. But if you don't have one, you can still, or I should say a flute, you can still do it in a wine glass. I have my tasting sheet in which we're going to go through the wine tasting process. Right? We got that. I have my Haley's corker just for the one wine. The sparkling wine, I'm going to finish that one tonight. I have my note sheet so I can take notes of the wines. And also, don't forget the water. Let me take a sip down. Remember to always stay hydrated, right? All right, here we go. Let's get the sparkling, I should say, let's get the Treehaven Lane open. Pinot Noir. What can I say about Pinot Noir? You know, you read information on Pinot Noir, you know, how difficult of a grape it is to grow, how fickle it is, I should say, that if it's not done right, you know, you can end up with a very terrible wine. But coming out of Burgundy, where some of the more classic and most desired Pinot Noirs are from, you know, out of Burgundy, France. But then there's also, domestically speaking, because we're in the United States, you have, you know, Pinot Noirs from, different parts of California. More specifically, which I enjoy, is the Russian River Valley in Sonoma. And then you also have Pinot Noirs, which is making a name for itself all on its own, Pinot Noirs from Oregon. Okay, in Oregon, they're saying that the Pinot Noirs are reminiscent or similar to those from Burgundy, France. All right, give it a try. So that's Pinot Noir. Has a huge history in wine, sparkling wine. So this is going to be cool, you know, because this is a celebration. If you're doing this wine tasting, you know, close to New Year's Eve, this is it. I should have had my pearls on and my fancy hat. But you know what? I'm just going to go with hashtag blame it on the wine. All right? Blame it on the wine for everything. You know, this is the last quarter of the year of 2021, and it's a party, it's a celebration. You know, and I'm looking forward to, again, share these wines with you, compliments of wine insiders. So let's get this open. Now, if you've never opened a sparkling wine before, don't be afraid. Okay, you notice that when I unloosen the cage, that cage is there for a reason, because sometimes the pressure in this bottle builds up and it can pop that cork. So that cage is there to hold the cork. So I'm loosening the cage, and I notice I'm keeping safety, keeping my hand on here. Don't point the cork towards anybody when you open, or make sure nobody's around. Normally I have a towel in case it's going to overflow, because I'm probably going to shake it up. But we're going to take our chances here and see what happens. Hopefully it's not overly shook up, and also it helps for grip. All right, so here we go, and we're moving. Oh, I better use my paper towel here to get that open. That's good with my white background. All right, there you go, grip. All right, I don't want this to overflow. And listen, voila! It's a party now, right? Okay, wow. Ooh, that smells good. That's my cork. Here's my two corks, sparkling wine, and the Pinot Noir. Now, I purposely did these two wines together because typically some of your sparkling wines, the majority of your sparkling wines, are made with two grapes, two of the classic wine grapes, Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. So I said, you know what, why not do the Pinot Noir side by side to this sparkling wine, and we'll see what happens, right? Let's get this poured. Now, as usual, you know, I'm going to pour both the wines. I'm going to go through the how to taste wine process with the first wine and then go from there. So let's pour this sparkling wine in. Let's make sure we get enough. Look at that. Look at those bubbles. Isn't that beautiful? Wow. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, my gosh. A nice pink color to it. It works great with that blue background, right? Let's try the yellow. Wow, that's a beautiful color wine. Let's put a little bit more in here. Have enough to taste. It's a different type of glass. These glasses are about 5 ounces. Now let's pour the Pinot Noir. All right, so when I think about Pinot Noir, all right, this is from California. All right, we're going up north. All right, so I'm thinking about, if it's not for Russian River Valley, where it's going to be, you know, kind of like full body but elegant, you know, I'm looking for something that's going to be a little bit more subtle, you know, and mellow. Okay. So, wow, check out those bubbles, though. I'm just, like, fascinated about it. You can see those bubbles in the video. Isn't that cool? It has nice effervescence here, all right, in the George Phillips Cellars Sparkling Rosé. Now, I couldn't get information on the grapes, but you ever have to decide? I'm sure the grapes are going to be Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. Ratios, I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure it's going to be Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. So let's give it a smell. Now, with the rosé, we don't swish it. We don't have to swish it because those bubbles, they come to the surface, they're popping. So they're releasing air, right? I don't know if you can see that. Probably can't, but they're releasing air. So they have to swirl that. It's a thin glass anyway. But with the still wines, we're going to do that. Now, I'm going to drink the sparkling wine first in this case because it's lighter, it's delicate, as opposed to the dark colored Pinot Noir. All right? But I wanted to give both of those a nice swirl and talk about it. So we're going to go through our tasting process, starting first with the Rosé sparkling wine. So the look, again, we did that earlier. You can see the frost forming in my glass too. That's nicely chilled, right? So you can see those effervescence, the bubbles. Isn't that beautiful? You want a nice stream, consistent stream of bubbles in your glass when you have your sparkling wine, all right? That color is beautiful. The stream of bubbles is nice. They're not all pin bubbles. Some are pin, when you twirl the glass, they like go in a swirly kind of fashion. But some are pin bubbles. Some are a little bit bigger than the pin bubbles, you know, but it's a steady stream of bubbles in the wine. Nice pinkish hue on the wine itself also. Wow, so now let's give it a nose. That's the look. The smell, remember again, for me to smell is two processes. A quick smell, then a short smell. So we're going to do the quick smell together. With that quick smell, we're setting up our brains and registering, saying, okay, we're focused, we're honed in on the wine, right? And you also detect some aromas there, but you don't talk about it. It's just a quick smell. So now we're going to do the second smell, which is going to be like 5-8 seconds. You decide. Just slow inhale to smell the wine. Here's where you can pause the video and do your second smell. Write down your notes. When you return, you can see how your notes compare to mine. I'm just going to continue. See you when you return. Ciao. So now, you get that nose in there and you do a nice inhale. Count your 5 to 8 seconds. Okay. All right. Now, sometimes you have to smell like twice, maybe 3, maybe 4 times. Just to really hone in and focus. And I'm going to do that here. It's a different kind of a glass. Okay, so I get that a little bit of yeasty smell. That's the yeast. Got to have yeast to make the wine. Get the yeasty smell. I get some kind of citrus notes on this, which is interesting. Wow. Red fruits are like a very as a cherry fruit, but it's very, very subtle, very light. Okay, so that's the rosé. Now, we're gonna go into the taste. What did you come up with on the rosé? I'm curious. I wish I could hear you, but you can also type that down in the comments when you taste. So now, when you smell, for the taste phase, it's 2-step processes again. First step, in this case, acidity is still important, but you can have the bubbles taking the place of that. You want to make sure that it's not flat when you taste it, okay? Make sure it still has nice bubbles popping on your palate when you taste it, right? Okay, there you go. And then that second taste is you're tasting for the flavor. What does it taste like? Does it taste like anything what I smell? There you go. So we're going to do the first part together. We're going to try to feel the acidity and try to see if we can separate that from the bubbles. All right, here we go. Oh, wow. There's a nice foam to it. You can't swish it because there's a foam. There's a nice foam. Mouth is watering, very filling in the mouth. So that's nice. So now, I'm going to do the second taste and write down my notes. When you return, okay, I should say, when you pause, you can write down your notes. When you return, you can share or decide if your notes match mine. We'll find out. Here we go. All right. So, here we go. I always smell beforehand. I'm 15 minutes into the video. I always smell beforehand before I taste. Always. It's just continuous. Okay, so this is very light. You definitely get the cherry fruits, but it's very light. It is dry. The bubbles are there. It's a nice foam that exists there. a nice palate cleanser. You know, when I think of sparkling, I think about cleansing my palate. You know, when you talk about different types of foods you're gonna have with it, but also celebratory. We know that. So it definitely is all those points. So I'm trying to taste the wine in between. So now, the think phase, spirit of swallow, we know that. I'm swallowing. You decide. Now, the think phase, that's where we start talking about our rating system. So we get to that later after we tasted both wines. All right. Then we're going to go to the Pinot Noir. We're not going to take as much time with this phase because we already went through it. So I'm going to look at the wine. I take a look at the wine, and we are at, wow, this is nice. This is interesting. It has a like brick red. It starts going into a garnet color, you know, for the Pinot Noir in the color. There's no noticeable funky things in my glass or cork. You know, so that's a good thing. Now for the smell, the swirl. Our first initial smell sets everything up. All right. Now, here's where you can pause the video for the second smell. You can write down your notes. When you come back, you can decide if you can see if your notes compared to what I had to say about this wine. I'll see you in return. So we're going to smell. Wow. So this is coming in at alcohol of 13.5%. Wow, that has a very light nose to it, okay? And what I mean by that is there's no like intensity, okay? It's very light on the nose. All right, let's do the rinse. Now, I want to go ahead and rinse right away to get rid of some of this. But let's get back to the smell. The smell is so light is that I can barely smell anything. It's so light. There's fruit, there's a little cedar notes to it, but it's so light. It's very light. I can't say anything more than that. All right, and it's 2018. So what did you come up with? You know, I mean, did you get more aromas than I received? Because I didn't get much for it. I have to go with cherry because I get that, but there's not a whole lot to it here. I get the cherry, I get the cedar, but it's not a whole lot to it. Okay, so that's that. So wow, that's interesting for me. You know, to get very little, you know, on a wine. Wow. So now let's go to the taste phase. Two-step process of the taste phase. And again, first initial taste is going to be for acidity. Yes, I did a rinse because I wanted to put more of the wine because it was so light. I wanted to put more of the wine, you know, inside of my mouth and everything and smell it, and it didn't change anything. Okay, so but now we're going to do a rinse. We can do that together. You know, do a rinse, do like a 5-second swish around your entire mouth. We're tasting for acidity in the wine. Okay, here we go. All right. Acidity is very light for me here in this wine. Very light. Tannins are pretty firm, but acidity is very light. Let me do another taste, you know? I mean, sometimes you got to do it twice. So what did acidity do for you? I mean, it's there, but it's very light. That's what it did for me. I mean, so far, everything, I keep using the word light. Everything is just light about this wine. So now, the second taste. Here's where you can pause the video. Because the second taste is where you truly dig down deep and try to find some elements, some flavor elements or aroma elements in the wine, and you write down your notes. You know, when you return, you can compare those notes you wrote down with what I'm about to say. So I'll see you when you return. Here we go. You know, sometimes you may have to taste it twice. Now, the acidity was much better there. But as far as the flavor elements, it's still very, very light. Background tastes are nice. Well, those tannins, man. Woo! Those tannins are tight. Let me tell you, I can feel the inside of my gums sticking, you know, to the inside of my lip. Those tannins are tight, boy, on this one. But again, the flavor is very light. You know, the acidity is nice, very well blended. It tells me that this probably be better with food. The finish on it, you know, little cherry, you know, like a fresh cherry. You know, when you bite into a cherry, you know, I get that taste on the finish. So that's there. But to me, there's not a whole lot going on for that one. It's very simple. So now, what did you come up with? Did you think it was more? Think it was less? What did you come up with? The finish of the cherry flavor is definitely there. It's very light. Very light. I can't even use the word elegant for this. It's just very light. You know, I think it could have a lot more going for it, but that's just me. But let's now get to the think phase. The think phase is where we go through and we taste the wines the second time, and we decide if it's going to be a thumbs up, 3/4, halfway, or thumbs down. So we're going to taste these. You taste, write down your notes. I'm going to taste, and I'm going to tell you what I thought and what grade I'm going to give it. I'm going to start first with the Rosé, right? Those bubbles are still banging. Isn't that something? Wow, nice. Now, this is an overall classic, just, you know, like sparkling wine. You know, some rosés are a lot more fruitier. This is dry, a lot more fruitier. You can taste the fruit. You can't really get enough of the fruit here. You know, I like rosés. I like dry rosés. I bet this is going to be great with food. I can sense that it'll be great with food because there's those flavor elements that are in the background that exist there. You know, that tells me that, oh my God, this is going to be great with food if you have some kind of food with it. But I do enjoy the bubbles. Okay, so the George Phillips Cellars Sparkling Rosé Wine from California. I'm going to give this a 3/4. And I'll tell you why. I give it 3/4 because it has a nice feel in my mouth. And I'm thinking about food while I'm tasting this. I'm thinking about simple appetizers, nothing over the top flavorful. But I'm thinking about simple appetizers, you know, when I'm tasting this, you know, like a roasted potato, small potato, you know, wrapped in bacon maybe, you know, a roasted potato, you know, with a subtle, little bit of sour cream, you know, dipped in. Just little small red potatoes, you know. Or I'm thinking of, you know, like my mushroom caviar, you know, for the vegans, you know. I'm thinking about things like that, just very light and subtle. I think this would go great with that. You know, so 3/4 on the George Phillips Cellars Sparkling Rosé Wine. You know, I mean, it's dry. It has a crispness to it. You know, I think it's very nice. And I expect the flavors to come out more if it's done with the right foods. So let's go to the Pinot Noir for a little bit more of that. So what did you think about the sparkling wine? Did you feel the same way I felt? Did you feel something different? Write down in the comments below. I really would love to read your comments down below. You know, and if you have friends there, write everybody's comments if you can down below so I can read them. Let's go to Pinot Noir. Treehaven Lane. Oh, I forgot to tell you. The Rosé, sparkling Rosé, is 11.5% alcohol. Okay, most rosés aren't, above 12% alcohol. They're very light, and sometimes people think that the lower the alcohol, the sweeter the wine is. That's not necessarily true. Okay, I mean, the sweetness depends on how much residual sugar is left or added. Alcohol doesn't really determine how much sweetness is going to be in that wine. 11.5%, you can find some Moscatos at 11.5%, and they'll be kind of sweet. This is dry, okay? So now, back to the Pinot Noir from Treehaven Lane, 2018. As I said, I use the term light a lot in this particular one here. And so let's see what happens in my final result. All right, I'm going to do one more sip because I just had the Rosé. I'm going to tell you, after the Rosé, more of the tannins come through on this one for me. All right? But even if I go from here to there, it's not going to even matter. So I'm going to go with the Treehaven Lane Pinot Noir. I'm going to go halfway. All right? And I'll tell you why. Because I've had better Pinot Noirs. Okay? If we go apples to apples, I've had better Pinot Noirs, and this just not working for me. It may change with food, and at some point I'm going to find out after this video. But right now, just on tasting, just on drinking the wine, I'm not feeling it. I'm not in love with it. I'm not overjoyed with it, So just halfway, it doesn't work for me. I mean, it's so light that it feels like it's missing its character. It's like it's for me. It's like it was overfined. Like it's too clean. That it's missing a lot of its character. But I can see what potential it could have had, but it's just not there now. Maybe if I drank this in 2018, it could have been completely different. But in 2021, yeah, it's just not happening for me. So halfway on the Treehaven Lane Pinot Noir, and we had a good rating, 3/4 on the George Phillips Cellars Sparkling Rosé. And there you have it. So I hope you enjoyed this series, part 1 through series of 1 through 3 of tasting the Wine Insiders wines, and you can get these wines at wineinsiders.com, and which you can taste along with me. I hope so. I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed presenting it to you. I enjoy partnering with Wine Insiders and presenting these wines to you and giving you my opinion, what I think about the wines. There's a lot of wines there in Wine Insiders to try, different vintages, different countries, different regions. Give it a shot, check it out. But we just went through Martha Stewart's holiday wine selections. I think the Rosé. I feel the Rosé would be a good choice if you like rosés, the sparkling wines. It'll be a good choice for the holiday season and make some hors d'oeuvres. How about just have an hors d'oeuvre party, and make some hors d'oeuvres and have with the Rosé or just a series of sparkling wines. There you go. So it's your Wisconsin wine guy saying, as I have to drink this wine, I can't preserve the bubbles so much. It's your Wisconsin wine guy saying, as always, let your palate be the guide when selecting your wine. And I'll see you next time when we do a on-demand style type tasting. Happy 2021. Happy New Year. Ciao.